Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. This week, the VR news is really heating up as we finally have a true Quest 2 competitor. We're getting teases of next generation headsets. Some of the best VR games are getting ported to new platforms. And finally, the Quest Gaming Showcase is dropping this week and I absolutely guarantee it will be better than last year. Now there are of course links and timestamps in the description, but before we jump in, this video is brought to you by Kiwi Design, one of my favorite sites for VR accessories. They just released some brand new Quest 2 hand straps that'll give you that Valve Index feel and allow you to completely let go of the controllers. They also have plenty of other accessories like controller weights for those of you who work out in VR, cable management systems, and my favorite accessory, their super durable and extra comfy Quest 2 Elite strap. There are links down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so let's start things off like normal with the check-in. This is what I've recently been playing and what's going on in the world of Mateo. Now, I just recently returned from a 2-week European vacation where I got to experience London, Belgium, France, and even met a Grumpy Duck VR along the way. During this time, I still managed to get some Quest workouts and gaming in, which leads us to the first story, my first impressions for Green Hell. As a PC port, this game is a lot more than we're used to getting in VR. The motion controls are implemented surprisingly well, and it both looks and runs great on the Quest 2. If you're a fan of survival titles, there's plenty of exploration, crafting, survival mechanics, and even a compelling story. Now, I definitely need to jump into this game more before I can rank it, but it does give a great first impression. Now, there's also another exciting title that I poured a few hours into while on vacation, but unfortunately, it's still covered by an NDA, and I can't talk about it just yet. Okay, so this is normally where we would move into this week's new release schedule, but either I'm rusty from being away, or there's truly nothing releasing this week. The 4-person co-op weapon crafting Home Alone style trap setting zombie horde fighting title Requisition is planned to release this month, but there is no official date just yet. Now, I understand that zombies are extremely played out in VR, but the uniqueness of this title definitely has me intrigued, and I just can't wait to see more. There was recently a closed beta session which I missed being on vacation, but I hope that went well and I can't wait to jump into this game. Now, let's not let this week's lack of new releases get us down, because on Wednesday the 20th we have the Quest Gaming Showcase, and I bet my channel on the fact that it will be better than last year's. Now, I know that's not a very high bar to set, but that's all I can say for right now. Now, let me know down in the comments if you want to see me live stream this event, and I would plan to have a fellow YouTuber join me, so let me know who you think that should be. Now, even if I'm unable to stream this event, I will have a full recap going up immediately following the show. Now, before we move into some amazing game updates, we have a reveal trailer for Jupitergrad 2: The Lost Station. Jupitergrad was an amazing grappling hook based platformer that definitely took me by surprise by not only having fantastic mechanics, but also great graphics and a cool storyline. The sequel appears to be adding the one thing that was missing, and that's some shooter action. So not only will you be swinging your way through a space station, avoiding deadly obstacles, but you're also going to be battling enemies along the way. There's no official release date just yet, but I'll be looking forward to this title for when it eventually releases. Okay, so let's jump into a series of absolutely fantastic games that are being ported to additional platforms. First on that list is the extremely creepy survival shooter Into the Radius. After a lengthy early access period and an extremely successful full release, Into the Radius has turned into the title that I am most ashamed for not playing enough. It is the title that I am most commonly told should be on my list of best games, and I promise I will definitely jump into this game a bit more in the future. I'm not gonna lie though, the overall creepiness is something that holds me back a little bit, and I just have to be in the mood to play that style of game. It's a very lengthy title with over 20 hours of potential gameplay where you're scavenging, upgrading your equipment, avoiding anomalies, and some truly creepy creatures. The world itself gives me a bit of a Death Stranding type of vibe, and the fact that they're able to bring a title with this level of complexity to the Quest 2 is absolutely amazing. If you're one of those Quest gamers who's been desperate for larger, more in-depth titles, well, here it is. Unfortunately though, you're gonna have to wait until September, but there is a closed beta that you can sign up for, which I will include in the description. Now, another extremely popular PC VR title is also making its way to the Quest, and that's Compound. This retro art style roguelite shooter has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, and sadly, just like Into the Radius, it's a title that I played a few hours during an early beta and kinda never got around to going back to it. Now, it's still technically in early access, but has improved significantly over the years, and it is a title I constantly hear should be ported to the Quest, So here it is. The roguelite action is fast-paced and gives this game a lot of replayability. There's a ton of cool different weapons, and while the graphics might look dated from a flat screen point of view, they really pop inside VR. There's no official release date just yet, but the full release of the PC VR version is planned for this year, as is the Quest 2 port. Continuing with some more port-tastic news, the high-action, story-driven shooter Fracked, which was previously a PlayStation VR exclusive, is coming to the PC VR next month. Fracked was like starring in an over-the-top sci-fi Vin Diesel action movie where you're skiing down hills avoiding avalanches while mowing down enemies by the dozens. That adrenaline-fueled action ride also featured some of the best graphics I had ever seen on the PlayStation VR, which always reminded me a little bit like Borderlands, and now I just absolutely can't wait to replay this game on a PC. If the graphics look that good on the severely dated PlayStation VR, we're in for some serious eye candy, and I won't have to worry about the PlayStation controllers and port tracking, which kind of soured this experience for me. And finally, in our port news, we have the adorable platformer Lucky's Tale, which has made its way onto the PlayStation VR. Since I already own this title on PC VR and the Quest, I might as well drop the PSVR key for you guys right now. Now, Lucky's Tale was actually a launch Rift title, and many years later, it was finally ported to other platforms. It might not be able to compete with Astrobot Rescue Mission, but it's still a solid title, and if you're looking for a platformer on the PlayStation VR, I do recommend it. Okay, so we just have a few more game updates before we jump into some deep hardware discussions. First up, one of my favorite Quest titles, In Death Unchained, is entering Season 5. In Death Unchained continues to see how far they can push the graphics on the Quest 2, all while adding 2 new maps, a 360 gate defense mode, 15 new achievements, and of course you get to continue your battle for the top of the global leaderboard. If you're not familiar with In Death Unchained, it's a roguelite archery shooter with unique mechanics, extremely challenging gameplay, multiple gameplay modes, and it just keeps growing over time. So if you needed a reason to pick up this game or jump back in, here you go. Now, if you're a fan of resolution games and their titles like Blast On, signups for the closed beta of Ultimex are now ongoing. There's not a lot of information surrounding this title, but it is promising some form of future-style sport that will include both 1v1 and 2v2 matches. Resolution Games continually releases high-quality VR titles, so I do have some pretty high expectations here, and hopefully after this closed beta, I'll have a lot more information to share. And finally, we have one last update for the unique music creation title Virtuoso. Only a month after release, this game is already releasing its first new update, which is a mixed bag of graphical updates, new features, overall improvements, and some game fixes. This seems to come as a direct result to user feedback, which is always great to see, especially so quickly after a title releases. I'm currently yet to experience this title, as it's not really my style, but if you are interested in creating music inside of VR, you might want to check this out. Okay, so let's jump into the meat of this video with the Quest 2 finally getting some true competition, at least in the European region. The Pico Neo 3 Link is basically a clone of the Quest 2 in almost every single way. There's only a few minor differences that we will briefly go over. For starters, the Neo 3 Link does not come with a cheaper 128GB model, only featuring the €450 256GB version. Now, the Neo also includes what's basically considered an elite strap for the Quest by default, which does make it a slightly better value, but otherwise, all the internal hardware is nearly identical. The same resolution screen, 3-stage IPD adjustment, internal XR2 chipset, number of cameras, amount of RAM, etc, etc. They both can do PC gaming over Wi-Fi, and the only other place where they vary is the Neo 3 can do lossless PC VR gaming, and the Quest 2 includes hand tracking, and multiple different refresh rates on their displays, with everything from 60 up to 120, whereas the Neo 3 is locked at 90. So the Neo 3 might be a slightly better deal, and it's technically a better wired PC VR headset, but that's only a minor selling point. And at the end of the day, we basically have, for the first time, a one-to-one direct comparison of the Quest 2. So Quest 2 killer? Absolutely not. Direct competitor? Absolutely. Now, there's a lot more to this story that we have to discuss though. Meta's lack of competition has been a major concern for the VR industry for quite some time, and competition like this is huge. Now, I know this announcement has the anti-meta people rejoicing, but for the vast majority of people, it doesn't mean much just yet. Pico still has a lot of catching up to do, and they will need to prove themselves on items like the functionality of their UI and the number of titles in their app store. But Pico is now owned by ByteDance, And as an American, that's a company you might not have heard of, but it's finally someone who can go toe-to-toe with the size of Meta. The only reason why the Quest 2 is so much cheaper than any other VR headset out there is because it's heavily subsidized. ByteDance is a company that can also afford to do that. Just like Meta with Facebook, they also own their own social media platform, namely TikTok, and the demographic on TikTok is actually much more conducive for XR technology. Teens are the #1 group using VR headsets, but the only reason they're signing up for Facebook is because they're forced to. On the other hand, every teenager I know has a TikTok account. So while the Pico Neo 3 Link might not be very significant now, it will be in the future, especially because they already started hinting at new technology. And if you look into leaks and rumors, they might even be attempting to beat Project Cambria to market. Now, as an American, I can't be too excited on this just yet because they're not in the Western market. But it currently looks like ByteDance is making some very strategic moves, is targeting regions that are basically snubbed by Meta, and will be able to leverage TikTok to help sell these devices. So while the Quest is currently in a branding nightmare scenario, suffering from issues where people continually call it the Oculus Quest, or outright refuse to call it the Meta Quest because they like the old name better, to their branding still featuring things like the Oculus Store, or their new controllers having both a Meta and Oculus logo on them, and we still even have Oculus ambassadors. And while the Pico Neo 3 Link definitely isn't a household name, ByteDance can definitely leverage TikTok to help increase its popularity. So in a nutshell, what does this all actually mean? Meta finally has true competition. As we move into 2023, the standalone VR war will definitely heat up between Pico and Quest, and high-end PC VR is going to see the Pimax 12K QLED, the PlayStation VR, and most likely the Valve Deckard. So basically, we are on the cusp of greatness for VR. Now, the rest of 2022 might not be extremely exciting, but there'll definitely be a few fun surprises, and I think you guys will be happy with this year's Quest Showcase, which will be the next video I post later this week. Okay, everybody, that was the new VR news. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and as always, I will see you guys on next time.